The only last thing I say is that the other big thing, as Friedberg says, is like, so let me just summarize. So it's kind of like, I think where we're all going to is we see the venture capitalist changing.
The financial stack, yeah.
It's going from organizations and these amorphous financial orgs down to individuals. As that happens, I think what we're all kind of stating is it's incredibly valuable at the earliest stages to align yourself with a person that knows your business or your market, right? And that's worth some amount of dilution. It's almost like getting a quasi co-founder, right? So in the seed and the Series A. But I think, so that's one really important point of what's happening in the market. The second thing that I think we're all saying is, why are we diluting ourselves to grow in these middle rounds?
If you don't have to.
It's unnecessary, and there should be really clever ways of non-dilutively financing yourself. And as the market becomes more and more sophisticated, there will be more companies beyond Pipe and Clearbank, to be clear. But the point is that every kind of company that has product market fit should be able to finance themselves non-dilutively in the B all the way to the D and the E. And then the third thing, which is sort of what Friedberg says is this last bookend, is then you have sort of the path to going public. And this is where the SPAC makes a ton of sense, because you have a very certain cost of capital. You can now architect a cap table where the founder remains in control, where they and the employees are still more than 50%. And you pull in the time of the IPO. Why is that important? Typically today, these companies were taking 12 plus years to go public. Now with SPACs, they've come back in and they're closer to 7 and 8 years. The reason is back to that argument of like, if you want to be a winner take most outcome, the most important thing you need at scale is money. And the way that you get money is by opening the kimono on your finances and showing people who have lots of money why they should give it to you and not something else. And so by going public in years 6, 7, and 8, that's where you pull in the billions of dollars so you can dominate.
What we're seeing is massive competition in the financing of massively competitive startup scenes. In other words, the entrepreneurial ecosystem has never been this vibrant. And I want to point out one thing that the SEC has done that is going to change things dramatically, I believe. When syndicates first came out, everybody said they were stupid. Nobody would ever do it. First one we ever did famously was Calm.com. We put in $328,000, became worth over $100 million. We're on track this year to do 5 deals a month, 60 deals, and we'll put $50 million to work this year at the syndicate.com. Think about that. My fund is $44 million. That's over 3 years. So now the syndicate's gotten so big that
you should just run the syndicate.
Well, exactly. So I'm going to tell my LPs the next time around, let's have a discussion about this. But anyway, I want to point out what Republic.co happened this week. Republic.co is equity crowdfunding. This means civilians can invest. There used to be a cap on an equity crowdfunding of $1 million every year. And there's a lot of auditing and financial review you have to do. And you pay 6% to whoever raised the money. But there is no sponsor involved in this. So as an investor, you don't get me as a lead or Chamath as your sponsor or Sacks on your cap table. But you can go onto Republic now, which has 100,000 investors on it. And Gumroad, which is doing $10 million a year, just raised $5 million in one day. Sahil, who was also running a rolling fund with AngelList. And he has 8,656 investors, which means people are putting in under $1,000 each.
Amazing.
And it's capped at $5 million now. Then Arlen Hamilton, who runs Backstage Capital, did a very non-traditional, I'll say, raise. She's not raising for her fund. She sold 10% ownership, or is in the process of selling 10% ownership in her venture capital fund, Startup Studio, at a $50 million valuation. She's selling 10% of it. If you buy shares in that, you don't get carry, but you get 10% of her carry and management fees forever. So it'd be like buying 10% of Kraft or whatever. The point is, the VCs get boxed out of this. And this, imagine if Airbnb or Uber decided, fuck it, we're going to let our drivers buy shares through this. And they said, we're starting this crowdfunding for $5 million. And they did it every year because you can do the $5 million every single year. So every year you just allow folks who are in your stakeholder pool, you email them and then they buy in. It's absolutely extraordinary.
Can you explain the Arlen thing? So she sold 10%.
It's a little complicated if you page down to
future earnings.
Yes. So if you go to the flow of funds and that link I sent, republic.co/backstage, she is took all of her different funds and said, you can buy 10% for $5 million. You own 10% of essentially Sequoia Capital. Or Y Combinator, whatever you want to refer to her, company as, her holding company. Then every time she gets management fees, every time she has distributions from her carry, she's going to give 10% of that to these folks forever. I don't know if that's a great idea, but it's a new idea. And I don't know if the investors in that are going to get a massive return or they're doing it because they want to support the cause.
That's incredible. My gosh.
It's so weird.
It's so disruptive. It's so disruptive.
Yeah.
Wow. It's incredible.
Well, because it lets anybody really spin up a new venture firm, basically, because there are some startup costs to spinning up a new venture firm.
Remember, she's been doing this for 10 years and really has gotten,
good for
I will
her.
have to say, not a lot of traction, from the classic LPs of the world. But now, just like we saw with GameStop, just like we see with Bitcoin, just like we see with NFTs and Robinhood day traders, there are new entrants here, and I think there's going to be a world where I will be able to fire up a syndicate and say, I would like to raise $10 million, but I'm limiting it to $1,000 per person, and 10,000 people invest. Or I'm limiting it to $500. So instead of, going away for the weekend or going to Vegas and blowing $1,000, somebody could say, you know what? I'll go to Vegas and blow 500, but I'm going to put 500 in the next startup I see. And this is a democratization that could change everything and make America so much more competitive with what we're seeing in China with Jack Ma disappearing and
I've said this before. Like what's crazy is like if you talk about like systemic inequality and poverty, it's like the government loves to give poor people casinos, sports betting, and lottery tickets.
Yep.
But the idea that they could invest $100 into a startup is illegal. Even though startups generate 15% of your CAGR. So even if what you did was you invested in the market beta of startups, let's just say that degrades, it would still probably be close to 10%. And
we beat the markets. Yeah,
you'd be at the S&P returns, over many years, 8%. So I mean,
25% better.
It would be incredible. But
by the way, 25% better, Chamath, with the outside chance of hitting
it could be a home run.
A grand slam. And that's why I love this. All right. So do we want to wrap here? Or anybody have any closing thoughts?
Well, I just think it's like, if you think of like that thing of like all the money flows changing, the other thing is like all the people are changing. And then what Sacks said before, it's much, much easier because the technologies are changing. You put these three things in a soup and it just seems like our best days are ahead of us.
I think it's going to be amazing for entrepreneurship. All the answers are out there if you want to start a company. All the skills are freely available to you. You can learn anything online. I think the message I really want people to understand is, you may believe that the world is filled with inequality and racism and bad actors, and you would be right. But what's also right is that every skill can be learned. Capital is available now more than ever. And there is a clear path for you if you just stop watching television and learn to be a UX designer, a sales executive, a marketing or growth executive, or a developer. You can change the world and change your lot in life and be really fucking rich. Don't buy into this victim mentality. It's complete, utter nonsense that crazy lefties are saying everybody's stupid and nobody can learn. And I got a bag of red pills here and I have been pounding them. The world is a giant opportunity for all of you. Get it.
I think it's time to announce, Friedberg and I would like to announce that we've started a combination incubator and early stage venture firm. We call it Paunch Draft. And it's play on the words launch and craft. I think the paunch is more just a
everybody wants to know when we're going to launch our first syndicate. We got to get a deal here. Somebody's got to find a deal
I never get the phone calls. You guys are doing deals left and right.
Jason, you need to assign somebody to figure this the fuck out, because I think there are people there are folks listening to this podcast who have great businesses. What we should commit to them is we will help you be the least diluted, and we will try to share the beak wetting amongst all the other folks listening to this. So if you have a great company and you're thinking of raising capital, come to one of the four of us and we will hand roll a solution for you.
Yes.
Okay, let's just do it. It's like, it doesn't have to be systematic.
We need a domain name. So go to wet your beak.
Okay, hand roll. We will hand roll a solution that will allow the four of us plus everybody else in the syndicate to invest. And then we will help you non-dilutively grow your business for as long as possible and then take it public.
Okay, I am setting up wetyourbeak.com, which is currently redirecting to the All In podcast. It's going to be a type form, and the type form is going to let you...
I will dilute your business, but the rest of you guys can do it on
Anyway, go to wetyourbeak.com and fill out the form. Tell us a little bit about your business and it will go to all 4 besties in the database. We'll share it. Wet Your Beak is the new database. I bought the domain wetyourbeak.com from one of the fans of the pod.
Yes, you just said it now. This is the 10th time you've said it. I get it.
Collectively, we own it.
This podcast is rapidly turning into a commercial for.
I think we have good information.
No, this is Jake Al's attempt to divert and steal my deal flow.
Yeah.
So
what are you talking about? We're partners. You're fucking. Ooh,
we're partners now?
We are.
Right.
Who did I just bring 6-7 companies to the other day?
Craftventures.com. Do not. That's the website. That's the website.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Don't email me.
Give me a break, man. Come on, man. How many deals are we in? Back at you. All right, listen.
Back at you.
We love all of the audience, and we love our besties. Love you, bestie Chamath.
Love you guys.
Love you, Friedberg.
Back at you.
Love you, Saxy Poo. When are we playing cards? Come on, let's play cards.
Let's play Monday.
Monday. Done.
I'm sending the invitation.
All right, everybody. It's another All In podcast. If you want to rate and subscribe or do anything like that, sure, why not? And shout out Young Spielberg. Thank you for making all of our great tracks. Do a search for Young, Y-U-N-G Spielberg in your in Spotify. Buy his songs, like his songs, and he's the greatest. If you want Series A funding or seed funding, David Sacks. If you want a SPAC, Chamath. And if you want to fold some proteins and
qubits,
and you want to do some qubits, email Friedberg. Somebody told me that the quality of the show, he calls it the Friedberg Index. If Friedberg talks a lot, it's a great episode. When Friedberg demurs and doesn't talk a lot, it's a shit episode.
Say the word again. Say the word.
Demur. Demur. It's French for sleep. It means you took a nap.
You're just
it's
so
French
stupid.
for sleep.
You're just such a heathen.
Day more. More, as in more day. Day as in sleep. Day more.
You could say demure.
Yeah, he demurred. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next time on the All In podcast.
Love you guys.
We'll let your winners ride.
Rain Man David Sacks.
And instead, we open source it to the fans, and they've just gone crazy with it.
Love you, West. I'm Queen of Quinoa. Besties are gone. 13.
That is my dog taking a notice in your driveway. Sacks.
Oh, man.
My haberdasher will meet me at Flint's. We should all just get a room and just have one big huge orgy because they're all just useless. It's like this sexual tension that they just need to release somehow.
Wet your beak. Wet your beak.
Your feet.
That's gonna be we need to get merch.
Besties are
I'm
back.
going all in.